This message is entitled, The Shepherding Pattern of Salvation, From Collapse to Restoration. Psalm 23, Ezekiel 34, Jeremiah 3, John 21. Peace to the remnant. This is Lord Augustus. Today I'm giving you the complete shepherding pattern of salvation. Not the church version, not the sentimental version, but the biblical pattern that runs through Psalms 23, Ezekiel 34, Jeremiah 3, and John 21. This is the pattern that explains what salvation is, why it collapsed, how God restores it, and who he restores it through. Psalm 23. What salvation looks like. Psalm 23 is not a funeral passage. It is the blueprint of salvation. It shows what life looks like when the right shepherd is in charge. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. That is provision. He leads me. That is guidance. He restores my soul. That is healing. I will fear no evil. That is protection. Psalm 23 is salvation as God intended it. Provision, protection, restoration, and present. But Israel did not live Psalm 23. They lost it. And the question is why? Ezekiel 34. Why salvation collapsed? Ezekiel 34 gives the answer. God said the shepherds, the leaders, failed. They fed themselves and not the flock. They didn't strengthen the weak. They didn't heal the sick. They didn't bind the broken. They ruled with cruelty. And because of that, the sheep were scattered, vulnerable, and devoured. In other words, salvation collapsed because leadership collapsed. The people suffered because the shepherds failed. Ezekiel 34 is God's indictment against every leader who abandons the flock. But God didn't stop at judgment. He promised restoration. And that restoration shows up in Jeremiah 3. Jeremiah 3, verse 11 through 18. The National Restoration Plan. Jeremiah 3 reveals that salvation is not just personal. It is national. God says Israel and Judah both failed, but he calls both to return. He promises to heal them, restore them, and reunite them. This is the two-house pattern, the divided nation coming back together under God's rulership. Then God makes a critical promise. I will give you shepherds after my own heart. That is the same restoration Ezekiel demanded, and the same restoration Jesus performs in John 21. Jeremiah also says the ark will no longer be the center. Jerusalem becomes the throne of the Lord. All nations gather to the restored kingdom, and Judah and Israel walk together again. So Jeremiah 3 shows us that salvation is not complete until the nation is restored, the shepherds are restored, and the kingdom order is restored. John 21, the restoration put into motion. Now we come to John 21. Jesus asked Peter 3 times, "Do you love me?" And every time Peter says yes, Jesus gives a command. Feed my lambs. Tend my sheep. Feed my sheep. This is not a sentimental moment. This is a transfer of authority. This is Jesus restoring the shepherd pattern Jeremiah promised and Ezekiel demanded. This is the reestablishment of Psalm 23. John 21 is the moment righteous leadership is restored, so the flock can be restored, the nation can be restored, and the kingdom can be restored. Psalm 23 shows what salvation looks like. Ezekiel 34 shows why salvation was lost. Jeremiah 3 shows how salvation becomes national again. John 21 shows how God restores the shepherds to restore the people. Salvation restores the flock. Jeremiah restores the nation. John restores the shepherds. This is the pattern God is restoring in this generation. This is Lord Augustus. Stay aligned, stay aware, and stay in the pattern.